Yo, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to today's deck profile. I'm gonna be showing you guys an Infernoble deck that my friend made. I decided to take his list out for a spin as well to see how good it is. And yo, I honestly can say with 100% certainty that the deck is still insane. You just have to play a little different than how you normally played. But I think if you adapt the deck, it's a very strong deck still, and it's still definitely able to like compete in the meta. So I have him with here today. You guys may know him already, but his name is Ivan. Yo, how do you say your last name? Is it Cooch? Cooch?
Chook.
Chuk.
You
Okay.
don't have to try. You don't have to try.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so if you guys don't already know, he's top couple LCSs. He actually topped an LCS with Infernobles, I think 9 or
Yep.
8. So that was
Yeah.
also pretty good. And yeah, he knows the deck really well, and he came up with his new way to play the deck that I thought is really neat that I really wanted to showcase. So we're gonna jump right into the profile. But yo, Ivan, do you want to do any shoutouts or anything before we jump right into it?
Right. So before we start with the profile, I think I wanna. Well, I don't think I definitely want to say a big thank you to my 3v3 partner and helper for this deck, Andy
Yep.
Tang.
Yep.
He came back from Yugioh after a long break, and we instantly jumped on Noble. He helped me a lot to see some of the combos. Like he would
Mhm.
come up with ideas, and then I would theory solve and solve the
Nice.
problems. And when we go down later the road, a lot of the combos we did together and we figured out together. And I'll mention specifically the ones he contributed more.
Yep.
But yeah, big shout out to him. If he wasn't like really pushy about Noble, I don't think we would have figured this deck out. But as you will see in the deck profile.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start off with what the connector package, right? I mean, probably the best normal summon in your entire deck. um,
Right.
yeah, and then of course like Dolphin being a card that like is just absolutely insane. And then the
Yep.
versatility of Isolde being able to summon Dolphin to always check your opponents for hand traps is just like crazy.
Yeah, I don't think this card, like, even after the ban list, when people started playing the PK package, this card was like never questionable if you're gonna cut it or not.
Yeah.
It's just the most value normal summon. You get to see your opponent's hand. It's an instant Isolde with basically no drawbacks. The
Yeah.
card is just insane. It's a must run. You must play it.
Yep.
It's really not optional. And yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think we have to go further on this card.
And the thing is, like, just the theory of like, I guess, do you want to explain now why we're not playing PK cards or no?
Sure. So
Yeah.
basically, the whole idea of the deck was that we want to play like we don't want to play any breaks. We basically, and as you'll see, I'll mention it now, but as you'll see in the video, we're not playing Power Tool Dragon. We're not playing the equips for Power Tool Dragon because they're just additional bricks. So the whole idea of the deck was to make it max consistency, as consistent as possible. Play hand traps, 5 of them in the main deck, which would be the correct ratio to open one hand trap, and just gas. The deck is pure gas. It has very little bricks. But the PK cards, they are bricks. Even though they make your combos crazier, you don't actually need like your end board to be that crazy because your end board is already VFD plus Herald, and that's like pretty crazy in itself. So the PK cards, like they contribute to the end board, but the end board of this deck was never a problem. It was always the consistency and dealing with the consistency problems and the way that people handship you. And those cards don't really benefit as much as you'd want them to. Also, playing them alongside Connector makes you brick more because it's just basically more normal summons, but you want special summons. Like playing the PKs alongside Connector and Ogier, that's 7 normal summons, and that's just really bad because you're gonna be bricking more often. So that's why we decided to not play the
Yeah.
PK cards.
Exactly. You're gonna be breaking on like those normal summons, but also like the PK cards inherently lose to a lot of hand traps that people are main decking in the format, like Meister, Crow, Bell, like right, like all of them lose. Like all of the PK cards lose to them, right? And if you play
Yep.
against someone playing like Ellic or something like Paolo, for example, he's main decking all those hand traps. So you want to, if you're playing a
Yep.
rogue combo deck like this, you want to play it so that it's more versatile and doesn't lose to what people are main decking right now. And Connector also being able to rip Crow out, rip Bell out, like rip out, like just ridiculous hand traps. It just makes it that even that much better too. And like this card can even play around Gamma. If you suspect your opponent has Gamma, just summon like Oliver first, or like play around it by summoning 1,000 attack, or like if you open up Etel, you can go like Chainlink one Dolphin, and then they're like they won't Gamma because they see you won't have enough, and then you can like chain Etel, for example, after that, and then they just lose their Gamma. So they're just like
Yep.
this package is just so good.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It's very good. Like I
yeah,
don't like as I said, I don't think the it was ever questionable if you will or you will not play this. It just has
yeah,
too much value. Just
exactly.
contributes too much to the deck.
Yep. And then the next, of course, I love these extenders, but 3 red layer and 3 flint. So like the non noble knight fire warrior extenders. Um I mean, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, these cards are crazy, right? Like baking is solely out normal summon, and then fire flint has a lot of value too. Just to
I
like
mean,
special
as
summon anything from your hand. Especially if you open like weird hands where you like, let's say you open up like Arborea and Oliver in your hand, and you drew like
yep.
2 unique equips. You need this to like special the Arborea from your hand sometimes. So
Yeah, I mean it's like really basic. As we said before,
yep,
the whole idea of the deck is just turboing out the Soul Day as fast as
hmm
possible to get to fiber,
yep,
and you want your deck to be well. These help you get to Zolde without wasting your quote unquote good cards, such as
exactly.
Oliver, etc. Like you never want to be using Oliver effect to even get to Zolde in the first place. But if you're
Exactly.
playing like way too many bricks, like some of the other builds do, like for example with PKs,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to do that. But
Yep.
the whole idea of this deck, like in general, was how do you protect fiber best? Well, it's pretty simple. You just use Isolde very flexibly. Like you allow Isolde to summon Dolphin, and when
Yep.
Isolde is summoning Dolphin, it's a way to protect your fiber, right?
Yep.
So then you can
Exactly.
just use the Oliver as a tuner extender, so Isolde doesn't have to do all of the work. And we'll get into the math of that later.
Yep.
But this is like a very important base point that we're
Mhm.
playing these ratios of these cards where we
Yep.
want to see them as much as possible to help us make his soul. The only
Yeah.
card that's cuttable, since well we'll get back to it later, but we're playing only one Gearfried, because
Yep.
also it's a brick. It doesn't help us that much.
Yep.
But the only card that is cuttable is that if Nibiru becomes more prominent in the meta, you can cut one Fireflint to bump the
To
Gearfrieds up to two,
to
and you'll
2.
still
Yeah.
be fine. Mathematically, you will still be consistent enough. But
Yeah.
for the
And
time being, we just want to be as consistent as
yeah.
possible.
The thing is, I usually sat the Fireflame, especially into like the Shadow deck too, because it activates. But if Fireflame didn't
Yes.
activate, oh my god, bro. Jesus
Yes, it will
Christ.
be insane. Yes.
Yeah. And then of course the Knights, we're gonna play 3 Oliver,
Yep.
3 Renaud, and then 1 Ogier, and then I guess the honorary Knight Gearfried. So
Yep.
we'll put it right here. I mean, I guess like these are like our quote unquote extenders, right? This being an actual tuner extender, and this is a pseudo one. I think this one is probably super crazy
Yep.
too, actually. Depending on how you use
So
him. And you can use them at the end
yep.
of your combo too, actually, to end on more stuff.
There's multiple ways to use Renault. For example, if you're opening connector and you also have a tuner extender where you get to see their hand and then you go Isolde and then you can just summon this guy, dump DDR, and then you can add back the DDR and it's contributing to your end board because you can
Yeah.
DDR back your Charles. So now
Yep.
all of a sudden your end board is like 10 times more crazier.
Yeah.
He's a tuner extender in himself, plays around, helps play around Nibiru. For example,
Yep.
if you connector and you see Nibiru in their hand, if you have any way to get a fire on the field, this guy plus Dolphin equals Herald.
Herald.
You
Yeah.
can just early Herald. Yeah,
Yep.
and it helps you play around Nibiru.
Yeah.
You have to max out on these. They're
Mhm.
your basically they're your consistency cards.
Yeah.
Renaud less than the others, but Ogier. Well, you'd never cut Ogier even if it wasn't that good, but he
Yep.
helps you get to Gearfried,
Mhm.
which in total you have 7 ways. Well, plus Gearfried itself, it's like 8 ways to get to it,
Yep.
which is like really good. That's why I don't think you need more
More than one.
Gearfrieds than
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Right, you have like 8 ways to get to him. You don't actually need more than one. And Gearfried, like right now, he's not that good because people are playing a lot of low impact handshots that you don't care about anyway. But if
Exactly.
people start playing Nibiru again, then yeah, you can probably bump this card up to 2. But you also have to keep in consideration that even though as we go on, you might notice that this deck's weakness is Nibiru.
Yep.
Um, you have to take into the math consideration that you have more ways to out Nibiru than they have ways to see Nibiru, as well as that no deck can beat Nibiru 100% of the time. Like it's no deck can do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
most
it
yeah, like you have to open up like very poorly and they have to open up Nib and then sometimes you open up Crackhead or like even
yes,
mediocre, like you still beat Nib. So
even
like it
mediocre,
does
yes,
like I think like Nib is definitely like I think a lot of people are gonna see the column and be like, yo, like Nib blah 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 go burr, but it's like not in reality it's
yep,
not really the thing. I think
yep,
Imperm is definitely the more impactful one. Because if they know how to, like stop this combo, like the Imperm can be very impactful, but you would have to just make an early Herald before the fiber. And that's like not like that's not doable, right? Because even Arborea
yep.
plus Fireflint is like a Herald, and then like and if you have any tune extender like Oliver, like you can still play. And then there's so many, right? Because you have Heritage, you have Durandal, like Living Fossil for Christ's sakes, like you have so many. But we'll get into that. No, but I do agree. I think
Right,
all these cards are crazy.
yep, yep. Everything is like must play here. I
Yep.
don't think I'd touch any of these ratios
Yep.
except Gearfried, as we said before.
Yeah, like maybe cutting it, yeah, or adding to
No,
it. Yeah. I don't think
yeah,
you would
adding
ever
to
cut
it.
it, right? You probably
No, I've
wouldn't.
never cut it
Yeah,
just because of the
The combo.
It's just crazy follow up
Yeah.
from like yeah, it's just crazy follow up. There's no reason to cut it. It's
Yep.
really good.
Despot, Arborea, and Coldwing are the one ofs.
Yep.
This being a card that you can summon, so you'll notice that we play 4 unique equips. 3 of the 4 unique equips are only one ofs. So if you ever draw one of the unique equip, that means you can only mill 3 for a tuner. Um, for from like Isolde from a 1 card combo perspective. So that's why you play the Arborea, and it's also a tuner extender. In the hands, even if you draw it, so it's like not the worst. Um,
it's
uh,
it's it's not that it's not the worst. It's that like so okay. Let me put it like this. Before, when you were playing the old version of Infernoble Knight, Genba
yeah.
was mandatory. Why was Genba mandatory? Because
Mhm.
well, if you open Living Fast and you had to use it to play, the only way you could full combo is if the power tool searched the Rendell, and then you were start using the second effect the Rendell to summon back the Genba to
Yep.
even be able to full combo.
Yep.
Now that that isn't the thing anymore, and that we're not even playing power tool anymore, you can use your cards in a much more versatile way, where every card is flexible in itself, and the
Yep.
deck, like the extra deck, is doing all of the work, not the main deck now.
Yeah.
So basically, this allows us to play the least dead warrior tuner that's like still
Yep.
summonable without running, a bunch of equips, right? And that just tends to be Arborea. And conveniently, she's also level 3, which is sometimes relevant. But yeah, like it's just the fact that like Arborea is just the best warrior tuner.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Like
No.
she
Mhm.
might suck it sometimes, but she's still the best warrior tuner.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember looking through the database for like warrior tuners to like summon off Isolde when I was like looking to the original combo with Isolde, and there's like no real good ones that I was just like, damn, I gotta play this card.
Yeah,
Um,
there's no really good ones. Yeah.
and then of course hand trap count we play 5. It's like the most optimal number to see a one of, and not see multiples like 5, kind of like the 5 normal summon math. Um, but Gamma is actually mandatory, right? Because it's part of the combo.
Yes,
Um,
Gamma is part of the combo.
and also it lets you facilitate a really power one of, which is emergency teleport, which is another tune
Yep.
extender. So I'll just take it out here. And the level
Yeah.
manipulation is like really really strong with Gamma.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much to say. Like Gamma, it's it's still like one of the best hand traps. Like right now, all of the hand traps are kind of low impact ish.
Hmm.
There's like
Yep.
except like Lancia, Droll, and Cyclometer, but those are like archetype specific
Specific.
hand traps, and you can't really be maining archetype specific hand traps because you need your deck to be flexible game one, and then you can side accordingly game two, game three.
Yeah.
And then the best way to do that is basically running Gamma and Driver. So the thing with Gamma is that it's actually, as Pax said, it's a combo requirement. You need the level manipulation from Shooting Riser Dragon, which will be
Yep.
get into the combo later.
Yep.
So it's really convenient that like we can play this, and it's still good enough. Like you cannot complain for playing Gamma, and like having a reason to run Emergency Teleport is also extremely helpful
Yeah.
because Emergency Teleport just gives you more ways to not summon random stuff from Isolde, but summon Dolphin from Isolde, which is
Yeah.
always good for you.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
Ash, it's just the most generic hand trap, most flexible.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
I think
I don't think there's
these
anything
two
to add.
spots are something that you can, it's always interchangeable. Like you just decide what
Yes.
the two is. Ash is probably the
Yeah.
most flexible. I played Droll at locals the other day, but before that I was on Ash, but you can also be on Nib. Like there's just so many good ones. Like you just have to decide what you want. Um
Yeah.
yeah, so there's like this is the two flex spots, so you kind of come to your conclusion with that and what you would think the
Yeah.
meta call should be. So there's
I agree.
that. Um
It can be anything. Like
yeah.
it's really fun.
Yep. And then why this deck is insane.
Rhoda,
All
and another
rotas.
Rhoda.
Yep.
Yeah,
All the
it's just
rotas.
Rhoda.
Yeah. And then
Nothing
the
to
only
add.
thing that comes up is that like if your opponent like has a brain, they'll realize that like they can bell heritage. Most people don't know that. So but it works in your favor. Like they would bell like they would try to like bell what do you call it? They would save the bell for what is it? 001, but they don't realize that
Hmm.
they could have belled this because we just summoned Dolphin and hit the bell anyways. So like it's
Yep.
just like really crazy. But it's just something
Yeah.
like if you start off your turn with Heritage, it's just something to note. But also this card is really powerful too because there are lines of plays where I sometimes go like normal summon Ogier, and I foolish a Durando so that I can play around Droll by adding back the Durando from my graveyard instead of from my deck. And that
Yep.
came up for me at locals because I suspected my opponent was playing Droll. Not that it mattered. It like didn't matter. But it's just something to consider. That this card,
Yeah,
especially like
this.
in like mid game, if you want to play around Joel, like this can like help you.
Oh yeah,
And
we're never losing to Joel. Joel is
yeah,
not a card for this version of the deck. We
exactly.
do not
Yes.
care.
Yep. So I'm just gonna keep this
But
here, even though we talked about it. But it's because
yeah,
I want to show all the equips together. So these are all the equips, and we only
yep,
play 6. Very minimal bricks.
yeah.
Obviously
It's just
this.
minimal picks.
Yeah, just very minimal. I mean, this is an extender. This is, bro. This card is just broken because you summon back like a Rorodon like after like turn 1, and then you make free access. And then you can also use a Rorodon to like tribute another card to like pop a card before you make access. So you like pop like 5 cards, 4 cards. So this card is just crazy. It's like a really nice extender. And like also like it works really well into Ice Dragon Prison. Um, but you don't need to play through this because it can contribute to bricking. But it's always a card that's searchable if you need it. So that's why you can just play it at
Mhm.
1. And we're not playing Power Tool. But it's probably like these are probably like the best equips. Um,
So from my point of view,
yeah,
how I look at these cards, you want to like since you have to play equips, it's
yeah,
like not avoidable.
yep,
You just want to play the best ones that you can.
yep,
Living Fossil is good because it's just Reborn, and
mhm,
Reborn is always good in this deck, more
yep,
or less. DDR. So DDR is a bit different. Since I mentioned earlier that opening DDR actually contributes to your hand board. So DDR is
yeah,
actually quite massive. Like summoning back Charles and then ending with Charles Herald VFD. Yeah, it's like pretty insane.
pretty insane. Yeah,
Also, this card becomes a lot better, same as Living Fossil, when you don't have to use it to combo. Like it's not a combo piece in this deck. It's just an
yeah,
extender. You just use it however you want. You can adapt it.
yep,
And yeah, it's like suddenly it becomes a lot better when you're
mhm,
comboing in this deck and when you have to, oh, I have to hold the DDR so I can summon the Plague, or I won't be able to summon this or summon that.
yeah,
Then the card becomes like inherently worse, and you
yeah,
don't want to do that. So
yes.
when the
So,
card is like
yep.
free usage, yeah, it's a lot better.
Yeah, and the idea is basically like instead of using them as combo requirements, we use them as actual extenders, and we're playing less equipped. So like when we draw these cards, it's like not the worst cards to draw because it's not part of our combo. It's actually a
Yep.
card that helps contribute to your combo or playing through more hand traps. And like that's like the goal of like combo decks, right? To play through as much as possible. Um,
Mhm.
so like these cards are just like insane for that. Um, and
Mhm.
then so these are all the equips, and then some power ass one ofs. Monster
Mhm.
Reborn for
I mean,
I mean Monster
it's
Reborn.
Reborn. Reborn was always cracked in this deck. It
Yeah.
was always one of the best cards.
Yo, it actually, Reborn actually in past for like the format before they banned Smoke Grenade. One of the craziest thing came up for me where my opponent activated Neo's Fusion and he sent like the Elemental Hero card and I'm like, wait, yo, that's a warrior.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
a
actually,
warrior.
yeah, so I was
Free
able
real
to like
estate.
summon that, which was kind of dope. And of course, Rhoda, which is, I
Seventh
mean,
Rhoda.
yeah, it's just broken because you search anything
It's
like,
Rhoda.
yeah, just Rhoda. And
It's
then
five. It's five. Five as the dolphin.
yeah, so this one I'm playing Reasoning, but I think like it like you're playing the trap, right? Shade Brigandine. I just couldn't
Yeah, I'm
find my
playing Shade
shade, so I'm
Brigade.
just playing Reasoning. But
No, sure. Yeah.
either or I think it's fine. It's like a 40 slot. This could also be upstart to be honest. Um but you
40th slot can.
yeah,
Yeah, it can be. I don't think it can be Upstart though, because
cuz
Upstart, like,
yep,
if you notice something about this deck when you're replaying it, it's actually really hard to kill. It's a bit hard to kill people
true.
if you don't set up like follow up. It's a bit
Yep.
hard to kill. So I wouldn't play Upstart, but
Yep.
for example, Shade Brigandine, Reasoning, or like any other Warrior Extender
Yep.
should be good enough. It can be also be a second gear feed. It can be whatever you want. It's like a 39
Yeah.
card deck, and the 40th card is just play whatever you have.
Yeah, play what do you have. Yep.
Yep.
So that's it. But in this deck, so it's funny if you play cards like Ash Blossom, you now have a lot more level 3s you can hit, and they never call 3.
Yep.
And you can hit Dolphin, Arborea, Ash. So there's a bunch of 3s. There's also like level 1s they can hit. There's also level 2s, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's like there's a bunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I agree with Reasoning. I agree.
and
Reasoning's been good.
then
Yep.
for extra deck, double is Soul Day.
Yep.
You
Standard.
normal never need two, actually, but the second one you need to kill them. When you
Yes.
dump all your equips in turn 1, your turn 2 or turn 3, however you consider it, you can only mill one, but you mill one for Renaud and add back DDR and you kill them. So
Yep.
that's why you play the second one, but obviously having a second one means you can also play through more stuff, and sometimes this card doesn't
Yep.
resolve, so you want to make a second one when you have to like somewhat grind. And of course the
Mhm.
fiber, one card does everything, and then barricade board blocker. This is
Yep.
just a generic link too, and it lets you save your soul day. That's like the biggest thing. Um,
It's a machine.
and
That's
it's a
like its
machine.
primary function is that it's a machine. Like that
Yeah,
helps a lot. Sometimes you can also pitch culting with it. That's also comes up
yeah,
because
and
you actually don't
yep,
need a continuous spell trap. So
yeah, or
it can come up.
yeah, exactly, or like if you somehow pitch Despot early in your combo, then
Hmm.
you need this card. Um,
Yes, you do need it.
so that's something to consider. Auroradon, obviously part of the combo, and then access code. It's hard to
Yep.
substitute this card. People are asking me if I can play Borsword instead. I'm like, it's hard because this card is very much needed because you summon this back. I summon this back a lot, and you
Yep.
can't make Borsword with Auroradon. Or I mean, you can, but it's a link one in the process. So,
Hmm.
um,
I like Access Code a lot as well. Yep.
yeah. We play Charles, the Cloud Castle. We can explain, but
Okay,
yeah,
I'll explain the Cloud Castle.
yep,
So if you guys have noticed, we do not play Plague Spreader Zombie. Why? Um, well, we don't need it
yep,
because we actually don't lose when we draw Coldwing. As funny as it sounds, there is a
yep,
combo that we can do when we draw Coldwing, and it's basically just summoning Okier, getting Gearfried Engrave, and Cloud Castling it back.
yep.
It's as simple as that. We
Mhm.
were for like two days or something. We were basically stuck. We didn't know how to combo with Coldwing in like such a simple version of the deck where you're just playing max consistency.
Mhm.
Like we were trying a lot of stuff. We even had Dugaris in our deck at one point. I'm not even
Mm.
joking. Like we were doing Dugaris stuff.
Yeah, I was doing
And
double
then
Balmung. That's what I was doing. I was like thinking, and I was
right,
like double Balmung maybe. But yeah,
right. And then we eventually decided to play Cloud Castle because oh we can just Isolt summon Ogier, dump Gearfried, and oh that's VFD with Cloud Castle.
yep,
And that's
exactly.
like really convenient all of a sudden. So
Yeah,
yeah. We decided
yeah,
to play Cloud Castle and why not?
exactly.
It's a
Because
good
like
card.
you just mill four summon Ogier, and yeah, it's true that you can't summon Dolphin in that case. But um, in any situation, like you also have to consider the fact that sometimes you just like see Ogier plus like let's say Durandal, and you just have Gearfried anyways, even with the Cult Wing.
Yep.
And in that situation, it doesn't even matter if you draw Cult Wing when you draw like Ogier plus Durandal, because
Yep.
in that case you can just you set up the Gearfried to play through Nib, and then you make Herald before you banish 3 for Trish, and then you
Yep.
overlay the Gearfried. So like in
Yep.
either case, you can like play through like these hand traps anyways. So
Mhm.
yeah,
I
this
mean,
this card is
it's
good.
important to add that even before Infernoble kind of struggled with Coldwing hands, but
Yeah.
what people seem to forget that is okay. Even if you draw it, like the other four cards in your hand can be good cards. Like you can have enough gas, or you can just like not have enough gas. Like this combo with Cloud Castle is basically a worst case scenario combo. You opened no extenders, one tuner extender obviously because you need it for the combo.
Yep.
It's like just the worst case scenario bare bones combo that you can do when you draw Coldwing, and
Yeah.
it's good enough
Yep.
to warrant playing it because you also need to account the chances of drawing Coldwing and a bad hand. It's like
Very
very
low.
very
Very
low.
low.
But at
Yeah.
that point you already weren't playing, so it doesn't matter what card you play to substitute the
Yeah.
Coldwing.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's the reason for the podcast.
No, that's exactly it. Cause I was like doing some test hands where I draw Cold Wing, but my hand was like so broken that like even with the Cold Wing, I still end up on like a crazier board. And I was like showing Ivan that, and Ivan was like, "Yo, we don't even
Yeah,
need this. Just draw Crackhead forehead."
yeah. And
um.
also,
Yeah.
yeah,
What's up?
mandatory. I have to say it. Andy came up with the Cloud Castle combo. That's all on him. So
Oh,
just
nice.
cleaning my hands from that.
Nice. Nice.
So
Nice.
shout out Andy. That Cloud Castle that was his work.
Awesome. Awesome. And then of course VFD. I mean, it's not balanced, but it's even more not balanced when you have it a VFD with a Herald,
Yep.
because you
Yeah, it
can't droplet
gets
it.
a
Yeah,
lot worse. Yep,
yeah.
gets a lot worse.
So these two are fine. I mean, this card is actually really neat with DDR. I actually really like it.
Yes, it is. It's pretty good.
And then I play Savage, but this can be a flex spot, and we'll explain that. But so we have Shooting Riser, part of the combo. Captain Roland. There's a
Hmm.
variation of the combo that lets you make this.
Yep.
Herald for obvious plays, and then Balmung for part of the combo as well. So that's like pretty much
Yeah.
the 15 card extra. And then this one was a flex. I think Ivan plays Unicorn. I decided to play Savage. Um, and it only came up for me one time where like I gambled my opponent after, and then I was able to make this, and I had Isolde in my graveyard from the turn prior when he striked it. But that like
Hmm.
never actually happens. Um, I don't know. I just like making my end board bigger if I draw extenders, and I was playing Savage, but it could be anything
Yeah, I think
else.
it's fine. I
Yeah,
think it's fine. I just play Unicorn for the
like
whole idea of the build is like consistency and utility, and that's why
yeah,
I decided to play Unicorn over Savage.
yep,
But like I can see both cards being fine. I think like the 15 spot is basically a flex. Like you can choose what you like.
yeah, exactly. Um, so that's pretty much it for extra, and then of course for the side deck. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the one of
So
Ash because
good
there's
one.
two in the main deck. But then
Yep.
then I play OCG hand trap ratios.
Cam heal ratios.
Yeah, the Cam Neo ratios. But so all right, I'll explain my logic and I'll explain what, and then Ivan can explain what he sides. But basically,
Mhm.
you need a certain amount of hand traps against certain decks, and you want the most diversity into like the combo decks. So in this
Yep.
case, like I know Nibru and Imperm, they function the same actually into Virtual or Dytron, believe it or not, because the combo
Yes.
with Dytron is that they go Union Carrier attach Dawn Knight, and then a Meteonis summon back Ben 10. Dawn Knight send Gamma. Gamma tribute the Ben 10 that was summoned back by Meteonis, and then they have two monsters and you nib them, and that would have functioned the
Mhm.
same thing as if you imprint the carrier. So in both those situations, they function the same. Uh, Imperm making the Meteonis dead in their hand, and then Nibiru puts the Meteonis in their graveyard, and that they can't add it back, making Meteonis dead in both instances, and then making them use at least two or names to get to what they do. So these two accomplishes the same thing, even though they are very different. Um, and then Imperm is also nice because it plays out of tactics, so just keep that in mind. So that's why I like these, and these were good into both Virtual World and Dytron. So that's why I wanted these as 4. Um, Droll was good into Dytron, but it wasn't the worst into Virtual World. As you can see, like it's not the worst. This is good into ABC decks for some reason, but I don't know why I had to mention that. But Dytrons, so you have basically like these are like 8 hand traps for Dytron. Um, and then you can
Mhm.
also like play this if you want, but Ash is like not that impactful. But you have 8 hand traps, you have 5 in the main. And you put this in, so now you have 14 hand traps post side, which is like a good number.
Yep.
Even if you have 13 hand traps post side, that's also like a pretty good number. Um,
Yep.
and then now if you think about the virtual matchup, I now put in 2 Lancias instead of the Psycho Reader, and then the 1 Ash, and then it's the same
Yep.
ratio into the virtual matchup. So like into both virtual and the Dytron matchup, the ratio only changes with the 2 Lancia and the 2 Psycho Reader. Everything else is usually around the same. So
Yep.
with that understanding, it like doesn't really matter. I just wanted diversity because now I have to consider like other decks in the format, right? So Imperm is really good into Adamanticators. Nibiru is decent to Adamanticators. Ash is like decent to Adamanticators. So now I have 5 cards that although they're somewhat good against like Virtual World and like Dytrons, they're pretty decent into like the Rock deck. So now post side I have 5 in the main deck plus 5 more. I have 10 hand traps, which is still like decent number against like the Rock decks. So or
Mhm.
like even the Noble deck. So that's why like it was okay to like do this ratio. I believe. But I think you played a
Yep.
different number. You played like more 3 ofs, right? If anything.
Yeah. So personally, I didn't play Cycle Reader. I just maxed out in Lancia and Joel.
Yeah.
Um, I think both is fine. So what people, well, I think most people figured out by now. But even if you play Joel into Virtual World, it's fine. It's
Yep.
just another low impact hand trap that you would play
Yep.
versus basically any other deck. It's completely fine. Like you're not gonna
Exactly.
lose because you're playing Joel into Virtual World. You're
Yep.
most of the time you're probably even gonna win. And Joel is really, really impactful versus Drytron. It stops their
Yep.
turn. Same as
Mhm.
Cycle Reader. Personally, I just prefer having one more Joel and having one more Lancia
Yep.
because Lancia is just a full blowout versus Virtual World.
Yes.
And Joel is obviously a full blowout versus Drytron because I'm playing a combo deck. I don't need to grind them, I can just kill them.
Yeah.
As for Impermanence, um, I think Impermanence is really, really slept on at the moment. I think
Yep.
Impermanence is actually crazy. With everyone doing the numbers with 75 Gossip Shadow combos and then going into Chao Fang or Vermilion and then going into Cloud Castle, it just imprint their Cloud Castle and they cry. They pass on no trap. They only have no VFD. They only have Gossip Shadow, and they were never losing to Gossip Shadow anyway because we're playing with 5 cards, right? So Imperm is like really, really slept on at the moment, and you can Imperm Union Carry with Jachan, and sometimes it just FDK. It happened to me
Yeah.
multiple times during the 3v3.
Yep.
As for every other hand trap, as long as you're playing Lancia and Joel and or Cycle Leader, because those like 6 I would have like those 3 I would say are like mandatory to be in your side deck. Like I don't, it doesn't matter which you play; they have to be in the side deck. As long as you play those, the other hand traps you play don't like really matter. I'd say the bear is really nice at the moment because of the rock deck. But the others you play aren't actually that relevant because it's just like low impact hand traps. Like pick which one you like the most, and that's basically all there is to it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I agree with that 100%. Ash is like really nice because of Red Eyes Fusion. That card is kind of crazy.
Yep,
Because like if you make VFD plus like Herald, like if they bait your your Herald, like Dragoon passing under VFD is very oppressive. Um,
yep,
so that's like the only reason why I have Ash here. But yeah, like I said, you just switch them around. So like whatever you main deck two of, just play the third one. So if you main deck two droll, like put in the third droll in the side or something.
yep.
Depending on how like impactful it is. Sometimes you can just keep it at two. And then the last
Uh,
four is this. Oh, what was up?
no, no, I was just agreeing with you. Yep,
Yep.
that's all.
And then this is the last four. Just back row goes Burr, so you have to just blow
I
them
mean,
out.
even in this back row, there's also some math behind it because we have to put math in all of our deck building aspects.
Yep.
If you do the math, like 40 cards, our best chance to see one, it'll be four going second. So that's why we're playing these. Harpy's Feather Duster. If you can't afford Lightning Storm, it's fine. Like just play Twin Twister and Red Reboot. Those cards are perfectly fine. They're perfectly viable. If you have something better like Evenly, sure, you can go ahead and play Evenly. Those are all completely fine. The only really mandatory one is Harpy's Feather Duster, and I'd say that like it's a must play. If you don't have Harpies, get it. But as for the storms, you can just play twisters, reboot evenly. If you don't have twisters, you can even play cyclone. Like even that is fine as long as you play four back removal. Hell, even Pancratops is okay. As long as it's four back row removal, like four ways to deal with back row, you should be good to go. You don't
Yep.
need more than that.
Exactly. Yeah. I was actually thinking about playing two storm reboot, feather duster. So I was thinking about
Mm-hmm.
that too. But my issue with the whole reboot in this deck is that like I sometimes can't even pop enough of their back row, or so like
Yes.
to like make it worth it. And if sometimes I legit cannot kill them even when I reboot them, like it's not my hand isn't like it has to be crazy. That's like the issue with the deck. So that's why I
Yeah.
am not playing reboot. I'm playing these instead. Because the thing with reboot is if you don't kill them that turn, you lost the game. Like realistically, they
Yeah.
can
That
set
is
like
basically
strike,
true.
like like they can set like
Yeah.
so many absurd cards that like you just can't win. So that's why it's three LS and one harpy instead of the reboot being the fourth card. I mean, obviously, if you open a reboot and lightning storm, then you're just better. But most of the time, that never
Yeah.
happens, so that synergy isn't real. So, uh, yeah. So I mean, for this, I have no complaints. I think these were amazing. Also,
Yeah.
lightning storm is kind of nice
Yeah.
because
Yes.
it outs like people playing border or like Ryo or like something stupid. So this card like has utility too. It's not the worst.
Yeah, it just deals with those stupid decks that like sometimes can be harder
Yeah.
to deal with.
Yep.
And yeah, as you said, like reboot sometimes this deck can sometimes have issues killing, so you just want something to blow them out as much as possible. And the
Yeah.
reboot and so I mean reboot doesn't really do that, unlike Storm and Duster, which do that. So it's
Yep.
really good to have them.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I mean that's pretty much the deck. I mean I have no regrets. I mean I went X1 this past locals with it. But I mean I should have been 4-0 if I just didn't through the game. Like
Yeah.
I legitimately like threw. You guys can check the VOD for yourself. But I mean it's a learning experience. It's not like I would not say this is like from a difficulty level perspective. It's not like from 1 to 10. I would say like it's around 7 or 8 maybe. Because you really need
Yes.
to like understand like steps ahead when you make plays, like what you're trying to accomplish. And if you don't see it and you just get there and wing it, you might just like not actually make your end board better and like end up throwing cards or something. So it's just like at the end of the day, it's like you need to know what you're trying to accomplish and what you're doing with this deck, or else you're gonna get punished pretty bad, like I did. So that's the only thing. I was definitely saying if you pick it up, practice it. And if you're playing this deck, you must love Noble Knights because obviously it's not like the best deck of the format, but it is viable still and it's still very strong. So
Yes.
so yeah, definitely practice for sure. But that's it for my closing remarks. Anything on your end, Ivan?
Yeah, and as you were saying, this deck, unlike the other versions where they have like PK cards, Plague Spreader, etc., it isn't like full out just throw everything on the board and hope it sticks. this deck also requires some resource management because your combos aren't as strong as those combos. Like inherently, if your weakest hand ends on V of the Herald, yeah, it does, sure. But it doesn't end on follow up. Like there are some specific combos where you need to get the roll on the right. In that regard, like your standard hands are going to be weaker compared to the standard hands of the other noble decks. So you need to understand how to manage your resources so you don't instantly lose the next turn. You need to understand when you can push, when how your end board needs to look, how you need to build your end board. It's just stuff that you need to know. Like if you don't know that stuff, you will think that this deck is underwhelming or that it's underperforming. But it's just things that you need to learn and that you need to basically improve on. It isn't easy because with this deck it isn't linear. Like what this deck does, it gives you flexibility in your plays. It allows you to play with Isolde it like a toolbox. It doesn't force you to stick to one line of play. So that's why some people might find it harder to play because you need to like find your own rhythm and your own pace with this deck, like how you want to play it. But besides that, I think it's a very good deck. Like I think it's very well built. It's really balanced in what it does. It has enough power to where if you resolve, you win, and it has like enough comeback potential and playability where you can even go second in some boards and some scenarios, right? It's
Yeah,
just built for consistency. It's built to do what it
exactly.
does as much as possible. But you still need to know basic resource management. And that's what I would recommend. Like if you're getting into this deck, learn how to manage your warriors. It's not like that straightforward. Just that's all you need to know.
Yeah, like managing your resources is probably the hardest part of playing this deck. Like, making use of Renaud, making use of Roland, saving cards in your hand, searching with Isolde. Like, there's so many things you need to do to like prep up for the following turn in case your board gets cracked, right? Which like happens. So that's like the only thing that you need to like consider. I mean,
Yep.
realistically, the only hand that really cracks this in terms of a combo mirror is like Gamma Droplet. If they have that, then they're
Yeah.
just insane. But even if they don't, if you're playing into trap decks, like managing your resources is really important so that you can play into like the trap decks. And it's more apparent when you play into trap decks, like that managing your resources will carry you a lot more than anything else.
Yep.
That's why you see a lot of people like looping red layer and like doing all that good stuff just because it's really really important in those game states to like manage that. But it's not. It's something
Yep.
that comes with time and like understanding your deck that you'll develop. Also, I guess we should probably show the combo too, eh?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. So,
We can
yep,
show them the standard combo of
and
any two warriors and
and then the
one
one
two.
with
Let's go
extra
with that.
warrior, or one when you have a tuner extender, you summon dolphin.
Right. So any two warriors and Oliver per se. It can
Yeah.
be that, for
Yep.
example.
Okay. So, all right, guys, we're gonna now go into the combos. So, you want to just get? How do I do
Just do
this?
Fireflint, Red Layer, and Oliver should be
Yep.
like because if you're summoning connector, then obviously you're not going
It's
for
too
Dolphin
broken.
per se.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just assume that you open this, which
Yep.
is pretty common because
Yep.
we're playing the deck for max consistency.
Yep.
So
So,
you're just going to go into Assault here,
yep.
like
Special
that's pretty
this.
standard.
Make Isolde. So this is like the first combo, which is like the standard thing you do when you have just Isolde.
Mhm.
Just keep in mind, this is not the combo you usually go for, like because you play with your entire hand. So that's just something to keep in
Yes.
mind. But anyways, I
Yes.
usually go Isolde add Renaud, or Gearfree depending. That's like my
Hmm.
favorite follow up cards, but you don't really need to. So for the sake of this, we're just gonna put a card down and say we have a card in
Yep.
our hand. And then we're gonna use Isolde effect to mill. So if we didn't draw the unique equip, we just mill 4. And then just summon Oliver. So we'll have that right. Let me see if I can find it.
Right. So if you didn't draw a tuner extender, you would be summoning a tuner extender
Yeah,
with Assault here. It can
exactly.
be either Arborea. It can be either Arborea or Oliver. But for
Yep,
the sake of the first combo, we'll be showing just
Oliver. Yeah.
how you play with like nothing. This is just two warriors.
Yeah, this is
So you're going
like
to
the cookie cutter combo.
yes.
You then make fiber.
Yep.
Fiber is going to summon you the bot. I'll get the coaling out.
Yep.
And then these two gets you Auroradon.
Yep.
And then the Auroradon effect will trigger to generate you 3 tokens, which actually, funny enough, I have some Mecha Phantom Beast tokens.
Perfect.
Um, so we're going to summon Mecha Phantom Beast tokens right here.
Hmm.
And then we're going to trigger the Despot to bring it back.
Yep.
So let me put this to the side. Close this down.
So
Uh,
now with the Despot and the Mega Phantom Beast token, we'll be
mm-hmm.
making Balmung.
Yep.
And after we make Balmung, we'll be using the Paradon effect, sacking the other two tokens to summon Coldwing. Now keep in mind, another very important thing here is that Coldwing has to control a Mecha Phantom Beast monster to be able to summon the tokens.
Yep.
So
Yep.
keep that
Yep.
in mind.
Yep.
So now we'll be using the Coldwing effect. We'll be summoning the tokens
Yep.
and triggering the Despot.
Yep.
So if you notice now from this position, uh, we need a way to get to Charles.
Yep.
Easiest way to get to Charles here, obviously, is level modification. So we will be using all of the tokens and Despot to make Shooting Razor Dragon. And after we make Shooting Razor Dragon, it's a level 7, but using its effect, Dumping Gamma, we get it to level 5, which allows us to synchro with Coldwing, and we can get into Charles.
Yep. And then
And
from
after we get
here,
into Charles,
you can do a couple things. You can go Oliver equipped to Balmung, right? And then Charles effect
yeah,
pop Balmung. Or you can
right.
just
Or you
banish for
can,
Phoenix Blade.
yeah, or you can just do Phoenix Whip, like whatever you prefer.
Yep.
Ideally, when you're equipping here, you want to equip to Balmung,
Yep.
because when you pop it, the card is gonna go to grave. So, for example, if you're equipping something like Roland, let's say you're equipping Roland to Balmung,
Yep.
you don't want your if you were to equip it to Charles, it would get stuck there, and then you're losing an interruption per se. So you
Yes.
always want to be equipping it to Balmung, so you get the card back in grave, so you can use
Back
it
and
again.
Griff. Yep. Same thing with Phoenix. Like
Yep.
Phoenix is better in the graveyard than in your on your field most of the time. Unless you
Yep.
like need to equip it to like go for game or like swing over something. Phoenix is always better in the graveyard than equipped. It's just something to keep in mind. So we're
Yep.
gonna go Charles effect because something got equipped. Pop the Balmung, and then we'll use Balmung effect to bring back the Coltwing. Coltwing effect triggers again because not once per turn. And then
Yep.
we'll trigger the Despot, bring it back. And then from here we make 1+3. That gets you to a Herald. And then from here you can banish the Auroradon, the Coltwing, and one of the tokens. And that gets you the Fusion Trish. And then you overlay it to make the VFD. So this is just straight up
So
Isolde, like with nothing.
yeah, yeah. This is just Isolde with nothing. No power tool, no need for bricks
Yep.
of that regard. But if you notice one thing, you notice that here, well, there's actually two things. We have very limited follow up. Our follow up is based on the other three cards in hand we had, and our
Yep.
follow up is based on the Isolde Surge, which
Yep.
usually a lot of the time it's gonna be enough.
Yep.
But there we don't have the Roland,
Yep.
but there's a way to get we can get to it
Yep.
because any additional body will get your Roland. So we
Yeah.
can go over that combo now.
Yep.
So
So I'm just
let's
gonna.
assume that you resolved Fiber, and after
Yep.
resolving Fiber, you have any monster. It doesn't matter what it is. It can
Yeah.
be Despot and
Yep.
any monster. It really doesn't
So
matter what it is.
so we're gonna show where when you let's do the same situation with these
Sure,
two.
sure, sure.
So I'll put these back. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna summon these two. You make Isolde, and then you add a random card, and then you're gonna use Isolde effect. This time,
Mm.
you open up a tuner extender, so it doesn't matter what it is. Let's say it's Oliver. You're gonna go
Yep.
mill 3. So in this case, you always want Phoenix Blade in the graveyard, and then you can pick either Durandal or Living Fossil, either one, or you can pick two Living Fossils as well to get all the equips out of your deck. Either or doesn't really matter. You don't have a level 2 warrior monster in your deck anyways to summon.
Yep.
So you just mill these. So you mill 3,
So
sorry.
so some things to note here. And why Arborea is actually kind of important.
Yep.
Before the old Infernoble combos, the only level 3 was Dolphin. Now, even if you have a tune extender, obviously they don't know that. But
Yep.
for this, if you send 3, it can either be Arborea or Dolphin. So
Yep.
that's like a bit of a mind game right now.
Yep.
They can't know what you want to do, so
Yep.
it might like incentivize them to hit the Isolde because they might be thinking, "Oh wait, he's summoning Dolphin. I'm gonna lose my hand trap. I have to hit it now." But
Exactly.
in reality, you might not have a tuner extender. So that's like really important to note. The other thing that's important to note, the tuner extender itself. Uh, so basically, you play 12 tuner extenders, 12 ways to get to a tuner extender.
Yep.
That's almost every game. Every
Yeah.
almost every game, you're going to be seeing a tuner extender.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every game, Isol is going to be summoning Dolphin, which
Yep.
is going to be protecting Fiber for you.
If you haven't
So
already normal connector too, that's also something you consider.
correct,
like
correct,
like
correct.
it's like more often than not, you're gonna look at their hand almost every
Yeah.
game. Um,
Yes.
so that's just something to like note. That's like why this variant is so nice because
Yes.
you like Dolphin itself is just so broken. Um,
Yep.
and this hits every hand trap except Meister because it's sold at 16 and Meister is 17. Um, but you can play around Meister by doing another play, which I can just cover when we go to Fiber. But anyways, you add
Sure.
back Phoenix Blade, and then you pitch it, look at their hand, whatever,
Hmm.
and then you summon Oliver with the Fire monster you added off his Soul Day. If you're trying to make it all one card, whatever, or two cards, or three cards
Sure.
technically. So let's say this is a Fire Warrior monster you pitch because you don't have enough. Um,
Yep.
you can then make Fiber here. Um, and let's see, it's right here. And then we'll use our Fiber effect. We'll summon the bot. So let me see if I can find it. Where's my bot? So we'll summon the Despot right here. And then we'll make
Yep.
Auroradon. Oh yeah, so the thing is to note is if they Meister your Despot, if you have an extender like Oliver, that becomes a Despot function in this combo, and that's what I did. I like saw my opponent had a I saw that my opponent had a Meister. I summoned Arborea and then I made Fiber with Arborea and I held the Oliver so that Oliver acted as a Despot in this line. I'll show you what I mean. So
Yeah.
you make Auroradon right here, right? You summon the 3 tokens. And then they Meister the Despot. If you held your Oliver, you can just summon Oliver here, and then that's basically a Despot. Um,
Yep.
or, yeah, so that's just something to consider. So, rip the hand trap out, summon the Despot. Also, they can never crow
Okay.
your Despot. So, like, if you guys are thinking, like, oh, what if they crow the Despot or Bell or whatnot, as Crow will never resolve when you summon Dolphin, so it just doesn't matter
Yep.
unless you have open up double Crow. In that case, you're gonna have to get nifty. But even if they open up double Crow, which is not likely, you have a higher chance of opening up Connector, which is guaranteeing double Crow anyways getting ripped out of their hand. Because if you have any Warrior Extender, so like it just doesn't like those situations like aren't actually relevant. But
Right.
anyways, we got here. So
So in this specific scenario, I think to notice that Dolphin is level 3, but this
yeah,
doesn't actually matter.
yeah, it doesn't
It can
matter.
be
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, it doesn't
It can
matter.
be literally anything. So
Yep,
let's assume that it's not. Let's assume that it's okay. Let's pretend that it's level 4.
yep,
Let's now we're going to be using the Despot and the two other tokens to make Shooting Razor Dragon.
yep.
Why are we doing this now? Uh, just for the fact that we're clearing our field once we resolve the Coldwing, so we
Yep.
have more space on our board. So now we're summoning the Shooting Razor Dragon,
And
and
we're
we'll
gonna
be using
send.
its effect.
Yep.
And instead of sending Gamma like usual, we will be sending Red Larry,
Exactly. Yep.
modifying the Shooting Razor's level
Yep.
down to 2, so that we can be using it with one of the tokens to be making our Roland.
Yep.
So
And
now we'll be
triggers.
using the Auroran effect, sacking the random body and the token. Again, it could be basically anything, any body.
Mhm.
Uh, and we get our Coldwing. So
Yep.
now we're using the Coldwing effect.
The,
Standard stuff.
yep. So
And
yeah,
now
as
we
you
make
saw.
the Balmong.
So use these.
Yep.
Make Balmong, and then now we can go 2, 5 standard, right? So.
Right. And now we just go Roland, which is our guaranteed follow up with basically any
Effect.
body. It just doesn't
Yep.
matter what it is.
Yep.
Shout out to Andy. Andy was also the one that figured out this combo. Like we were, he was he was the one that figured out this combo. It
Yeah.
helped a lot in establishing follow up because we didn't know how to incorporate Roland to this deck, and we were like brainstorming it, and Andy came up with like, oh well, any body, we don't have to actually link the body into Borg. Like the body doesn't bother us. We can just do this, and we're like, oh yeah, that's really cool. So then we
Yeah.
started doing this combo.
Exactly. And if you think about it, like Isolde would have added you, let's say, a Gearfried, and now like the Roland can now add you a Renaud, and now you have Gearfried Renaud as a follow up, and that's just
Yes.
like that's just game most of the time because
Yep.
Renaud plus Gearfried is access code Gearfried. Um, and you might be wondering what I mean by that, but I'll show you afterwards. So, anyways, you know, if you should always have Oliver in the graveyard, Roland in the grave in this combo. So you just go Roland equipped to Balmung, so you don't have to waste Phoenix Blade banish. If you don't want to, you can either do Phoenix Blade banish depending on your hand, but you equip to Balmung, effect pop Balmung, and then we'll trigger summon back this, and then Cold Wing effect summon 2 more, and then we'll summon back the Despot. Then we will do Despot and one of the Cold Wing. tokens into a herald, and then we'll just
Yep.
go banish, 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 and we'll summon a Trish overlay, and there it is, our VFD. So same concept, except now we have, you know, cards we can search. So we have a Gearfried and Renaud, and now I'll show you what Gearfried Renaud does in the grind game. Let's say you like Herald negate something, and then you VFD'd them. Let's pitch Charles. Let's
Yep.
detach Charles. So if you have a Gearfried plus a Renaud as your follow up, and those are your only two cards, you don't even have to draw a card. You can go Gearfried effect, banish the DDR from your graveyard, special the Renaud, add back the DDR. Then you'll DDR pitch Phoenix Blade that you banish any warrior monsters for. You summon back the Cult Wing that you banish off Trish Fusion. You use Renaud and the Auroradon. And then you make access code, and that gains 3,000. And now you have 8,000 on board with, you should have Fiber, Auroradon, and Isolde, which is a light. So that's 3 pops, and then you should OTK your opponent.
Yep.
So,
It's easy game.
yeah, and that's easy game. Obviously, you have this too to attack, but that's something to consider. That Gearfried Renaud is OTK going second, or go like as a follow up.
Yeah, and like these are your most basic combos that
Yeah.
you'll be doing most of the time.
Yep.
More times than not, you'll be having the extra body just because like your hands are just that broken.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and like mathematically wise, like you also have to account for the chances to see dolphin connector, blah 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 blah. So this can like summon whatever you want, whatever
Yeah.
you need at the moment.
Like if
So
you,
more times than not, you
yeah,
will have these combos.
like
Yes.
even if you see like red layer connector, like that's just like guaranteed free body right there, right? Like it's just like
Yeah.
ridiculous. And that's not
Yeah.
even a
Yeah.
free body. That's like a double hand rip free body with tuner extender. So sometimes it's
Yep.
just like that crazy. Yeah. DD Auroradon is better than DD Charles. Yeah, because you're just trying to kill them. If you expect that you're not going to be able to kill them, then you use DDR back Charles, and you equip Ogier to Charles, and then even if they get rid of DDR, DDR can't destroy Charles because it's protected by Ogier. And that was a play that
Yep.
came up during one of my LCSs when I played this deck, where I equipped Ogier to the DDR, and Ogier protects from destruction from both players. So that's something to consider. But
Yep.
yeah, that is the deck, guys. So we hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's like a little longer than normal, 50 something minutes, but good theory for you guys to understand. If you guys are interested in playing this deck, I love this deck. This deck is awesome. I'm glad to see it's back. And playing this variant definitely feels comfortable for me. Like I think it makes a lot of sense. And I really like it. So I figured I'd share it with you guys. But that's pretty much it. Thank you for showing the deck profile. Ivan helping me out with it.
No problems. Thank you, man, for letting me show my deck on your platform.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much. And yeah,